Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Johns Hopkins School of Education Doctor of Education virtual webinar. My name is Sion John. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Also presenting today, we have Dr. Camille Bryant, Professor and Interim Director of the Doctor of Education program, and Jennifer Coveney from Financial Aid. Before we get started, I would like to cover a few housekeeping topics. First, today's webinar is being recorded. We will share a link with you after the event is completed. Also, please take a second to see if your mic is on mute right now. Again, please take this time to make sure your mic is on mute at all times. Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Please type your question in the chat box and Dr. Bryant and I will read and answer your questions. Next, I would like to share the agenda for today's virtual webinar. We will kick off the presentation sharing an overview of the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Then Dr. Bryant will introduce herself and discuss an overview and details of the Doctor of Education program. Lastly, I'll wrap it up with admissions requirements and leave the floor open for questions at the end. Quick facts about SOE. We are one of 9 schools at Johns Hopkins University. We began offering college courses for teachers in 1909 and then became our own school in 2007. For school enrollment, we have approximately 2,600 students. We are proud to share that the Johns Hopkins School of Education is consistently ranked one of the top schools in education by the U.S. News and World Report. At this time, I am going to hand the floor over to Dr. Bryant. She will introduce herself and present on the Doctor of Education program.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Camille Bryant. I'm an associate professor. I'm also the interim director of the Johns Hopkins Doctor of Education program within the School of Education. I am trained as a research methodologist with interests in research methods, self-efficacy, as well as program evaluation, and trying to understand the role of contextual factors with respect to the implementation of educational programs that teachers implement in their classrooms. So here you simply see a picture of some of the students that are in our program. This picture comes, or most of these pictures come from our orientation residency program, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But just so you know, our students come from a variety of educational backgrounds and contexts and are located all across the globe. So the EdD program is designed to prepare an exceptional core of educators and educational leaders who can set a high standard for education and are equipped to meet the myriad challenges associated with improving learning outcomes in both public and private educational environments. So the Doctor of Education degree is ideal for the experienced practitioner who is seeking to augment their knowledge and skills with respect to examining real-world problems of practice within their context of professional practice. Those who are interested in creating powerful interventions based on research informing us about what works. And it's ideal for those who are aiming to rigorously evaluate changes that are made within their context. So our program has a few specializations, and those specializations do vary by cohort. You can find more information on the specializations that are offered by going to our website. For our next enrollment period, the 2020 specializations include entrepreneurial leadership and education, mind, brain, and teaching, as well as urban leadership and education. We also have 2 additional specializations that include online teaching and learning, so dealing with instructional design, as well as technology integration for the K through 16 educational context. So our program features include rigor, relevance, and powerful intervention. So our ED program is rigorous. We want students to be able to take what they've learned in their courses and apply it to a relevant problem of practice, and to engage and implement a powerful intervention that will address a problem of practice. Students typically complete the program within 3 to 4 years. This is an online asynchronous instructional model with some synchronous support. And another program feature is that the dissertation work is taken up within the coursework. So the curriculum structure and coursework are organized around these 4 areas. So Foundations of Education courses are comprised of courses that allow for 12 credits plus elective credits as well. The Applied Research and Evaluation courses include 9 credit hours. We also have specialization courses. So those courses would include a total of 12 credits plus electives. And then there are applied dissertation credits so students would take 9 credit hours of dissertation credits. So the curriculum structure also includes 4 transition points, and these transition points are designed for you to demonstrate competency mastery in written and oral assessments. So the first transition point is the year 1 paper. This occurs the summer of your first year in the program. This year 1 paper will make up chapters 1 and 2 of the dissertation. So chapter 1 is where students explore literature on factors related to their problem of practice. And in chapter 2, students conduct an empirical needs assessment study to explore which of those factors from the literature are relevant within their context. The next transition point is the comprehensive examination. This is an oral examination following year 2 of the program and is focused on the core courses. The dissertation proposal is the next transition point where students orally defend chapters 1 through 4 of the dissertation, in which an intervention is proposed from the findings from the needs assessment study. And then finally, there is an oral defense of the dissertation once the intervention is completed. So our dissertation is an applied dissertation. It is the culmination of independently completed but closely interrelated projects. These projects are embedded within coursework and distributed across the 3 years. So as I was saying earlier, the dissertation components are embedded within the coursework. The focus is on a problem of practice within the context of professional practice, and there is potential for significant change within content of professional practice and/or implications for policy. The program provides several types of support structures to help you navigate coursework and these transition points. So if accepted, the summer before you matriculate in the fall, you will complete an online orientation to become acquainted with our program, to strengthen your research methods knowledge, among other topics. We also have a face-to-face orientation as well as a yearly residency over the summer. And that's usually in July, where you attend interactive workshops and activities with students from across the globe. Every cohort has a faculty cohort lead, and that is your point of contact for your time in the program. They will help you navigate the coursework that you need to complete in order to graduate, as well as helping you to determine what courses are most relevant for your specialization area, as well as your problem of practice. You're also assigned an advisor who will guide you through the components of your dissertation. And of course, our faculty are here to support you. Our faculty have various areas of expertise and are a tremendous support for our students. There's also the dissertation clinic and the writing clinic. The dissertation clinic provides research methods support, and the writing clinic provides writing support for students. The librarians for our program also offer library webinars to help with lit review searches and things that are necessary for conducting research that require the use of the library. Then there are online resources in our platform, which is Blackboard. We have a program site where announcements are made and resources are housed. We also have a cohort site where information specific to your cohort is posted. So here's a picture of one of our cohorts during orientation residency a couple of years ago, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So in terms of orientation and residency, there is a mandatory online orientation that students complete in June and July. So when students are accepted into our program and they accept that they will, in fact, join the ranks of our SOE EdD community, they are required to complete this mandatory online orientation the summer before they matriculate in the fall. There's also a face-to-face orientation that occurs in late July, and this occurs over 3 days. So for those who cannot attend in person, it can be completed electronically from a distance. And this, along with residency each year, which occurs during the same time over the course of those 3 days, allow for program year specific learning to jumpstart students' work each year, to participate in face-to-face interactions with faculty and other students. And this is a part of our program that students thoroughly enjoy, to be able to talk with students, meet face-to-face with students not only in their cohort, but also students from past cohorts to get advice, to meet with their advisors and faculty in the program, and to also engage in these different interactive workshops. Really has been beneficial for our students. So finally, I wanted to provide you with just a snapshot of some of the types of dissertations that have been completed in our program. So here are some of the titles. Example-based learning to develop information search skills in higher education in the Arabian Gulf. HIV/AIDS infected young adults who are non-adherent with their medication. Education for diversity, how to ensure teacher success in reaching culturally and linguistically diverse populations. Entrepreneurship and Escribo, an EdTech company in Brazil. Fostering self-regulated learning at an independent school. Advisement models to support community college student enrollment and completion. And business and education partnerships, models of endurance. So by looking at these different studies that students have completed in our program, it's very clear that students conduct research on a variety of topics a variety of disciplines. And so that's really important to know that we do make sure that students are able to explore a variety of topics within our program as it relates to education and a problem of practice that is specific to their educational context.
Thank you, Dr. Bryan. So now we're going to continue by going over the application requirements. Applicants must submit a completed application, which can be found on our website. Keep in mind there's an $80 application fee when you submit your application. You also need an updated resume, CV. Next, your personal statement should not exceed more than 750 words. Please visit our website for additional information on your personal statement. Moving on, you should submit 3 letters of recommendation. These letters should include at least the following: a professor with whom you worked in your master's program who could speak to your competency to conduct rigorous scholarly work, and someone who can attest to your qualifications and knowledge of and support for your area of problem of practice. Next, the GRE is not a requirement for admissions consideration to the EdD program. It is optional for an applicant to submit a GRE test score as part of the application. However, submission of a GRE test score is an opportunity for an applicant to present additional evidence of the quantitative and verbal skills required for the doctoral level study. Official transcripts. We need all official transcripts, including institutions you may have taken courses but did not receive a degree. Again, this is from all post-secondary institutions that you have attended. Lastly, all applicants will be asked to complete a virtual interview after submitting their application. Admissions timeline. The EdD application is now open for fall 2020 admission. Application deadline is January 30, 2020. Please keep in mind we would need all supporting materials submitted by this date. Applications will be reviewed from February to mid-March. Finally, admissions decision will be released mid-March. There are a few additional steps you need to take in order to complete the application process if you are an international student. You must submit a TOEFL or IELTS score. If your degree was completed outside of the US, you will need to complete a course-by-course evaluation. Additional information can be found on our website. At this time, I would like to turn it over to my colleague, Jennifer Coveney, for information on financial aid.
Good afternoon. Regarding the cost of tuition and fees, excuse me, estimated tuition is based on the 2019-20 rate of $4,374 per 3-credit course. The program requirement is 18 courses. The estimated tuition that I just gave you does not include books, travel, housing, or annual increases. Actual tuition and fees for future years of enrollment typically increase approximately 2 to 3% each year. Regarding financial aid, students that are interested in receiving financial aid will want to complete the free application for federal student aid, also known as FAFSA, by March 15th. We do offer a limited number of endowed scholarships. That process does require an additional application. The application will become available in early 2020 and is typically due around March the 15th. Be sure if you are going to submit your FAFSA that you also submit your FAFSA by March 15th. Along with endowed scholarships, the EdD program does have separate funding for their merit-based scholarships. They are awarded by the EdD program directly, and they determine the eligibility requirements. They are all based on merit. There is no additional application required. Your admissions application is what is used to determine your eligibility for a merit-based scholarship. Please check our website for additional information regarding how to apply for financial aid.
Thank you, Jennifer. If you have any questions relating to your application, please feel free to email or call us. Also, this is the address you would use to send any supporting materials. If you have any program-related questions, feel free to contact the Academic Program Coordinator, Kathy Chow. Thank you for attending the Doctor of Education virtual webinar. At this time, Dr. Bryan and I would like to open up the floor for questions. Again, please remember to chat in your question. All right, to start off, our very first question, bear with me while I look through the chat. Renee Wilder asks, what do you mean by taken up within the coursework? Dr. Bryan, if you can share with us, elaborate on that, please.
Sure. So what this means is that there are certain courses where the assignments will become a part of your actual dissertation. And so this is an intentional part of the program so that as you're going through your coursework, you're actually completing pieces of your dissertation.
Thank you. The next question is, how many credits are taken per semester?
So most students take 6 credits per semester, so 2 courses.
Next question from David. There's a requirement for a faculty recommendation. However, it's been over 10 years since I completed my master's and I don't have any contact with the faculty members. What is the workaround? In regards to your letters of recommendation, if you are able to receive a recommendation from a supervisor, so a professional recommendation is also something that we do accept. Keep in mind, one of your letters of recommendations, they need to talk on behalf of how they can support you during your problem of practice. The next question in regards to deadline, is the application rolling by any chance? I think I saw online that it's a rolling application. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So again, the application for fall 2020 admission is now open, and the application will be reviewed by the EdD committee around the February, March, and decisions will be released mid-March of 2020.
The next question is the 3-day face-to-face orientation different from the 3-day residency? And if so, what is the itinerary for the residency? So the 3-day face-to-face orientation is for incoming students. And so those sessions range from more in-depth information on things like the library, helping students to workshop their problems of practice. So they've come into the program with a problem of practice, but they need to perhaps do some work and refine that. And so we do workshops around that, giving them a sense of what their 3 years will look like in the program. And that does happen at the same time as residency. So residency is for students who are in their 2nd, 3rd, or maybe even their 4th year, if necessary. And those workshops are really designed to help to prepare them for what's coming next. So for example, for students in going into their third year, they might participate in a workshop on preparing for their comprehensive exam or preparing for their dissertation proposal. There are also workshops that include methods, so helping them to think about the research methods knowledge that they need to have, and kind of filling in some of those gaps as they prepare to conduct their intervention study. So these things are happening at the same time, and we've done that because incoming students like to talk to those students from earlier cohorts. And so having them all there together while they're having somewhat of a different experience in terms of their workshops, they're able to find time to talk with one another, and we build that into the schedule. So they have that time to do that as well. Hopefully that answers your question.
Our next question in regards to past dissertations, can you give some other examples from the mind, brain, and teaching concentration?
So I'd actually have to look at the website to give you a full list, but so some students are trying to understand how using professional development, for example. So they might do an intervention where they're doing professional development with teachers to kind of help them understand the connections between the brain and learning. So that's just one example, and I can send you others if you want to send me an email. But most of our, I would say most of our dissertations, particularly within mind, brain, and teachings, tend to focus more on teacher professional development, but there are some, for example, who are maybe working with autistic children, and so they're implementing interventions that are specific to their knowledge and understanding of neuroscience and that connection to learning. And so they're using those approaches to improve students' outcomes for that specific population.
The next question from Heidi from the website. It looks like you're supposed to be maintaining a job during the doctorate program. What if your employment changes either now or during the program? Ryan, if you provide any insight on this, that would be great.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So you are supposed to maintain a job because the applied dissertation requires that you explore a problem of practice within your context, your educational context. And so sometimes it does happen when students change jobs. What we try to do, depending on when students change jobs, so if it happens at the very beginning of their program, then it's not so much of an issue because they can begin focusing on that problem within their context, and that kind of carries them through the rest of the time that they're in our program. But when students kind of switch halfway through the program where they've already done a needs assessment study that has looked at a problem within one particular context and then they move to another, that can pose a problem, but we do try to work with students. Oftentimes, the nature of the problem is transferable to another context, and so they can continue on with that same topic and area of research, even when they go to another context. For some, if their context changes completely, then we might have to rethink going back to that exploration of the problem and maybe doing some additional data collection to make sure that the problem is understood well within that new context.
Thank you. That's a question we get often here in the Office of Admissions.
Mhm.
David asks, I did my master's at Hopkins. What consideration is given to former Hopkins alumni in the admissions qualification process? So David, we look at your application holistically, and having a master's is a prerequisite for this program. So again, we will look at your application as a whole, and again, and see, to see again, in terms of your strengths and again, your fit for this program. The next question we have from Renee is my question on the concentration. How much neuroscience is in the mind-brain concentration?
I would say there's a focus on neuroscience, definitely within the first few courses of that specialization, but there are many aspects around mind, brain, and teaching that are explored that don't specifically target neuroscience. But you can expect to learn a lot about neuroscience in those introductory specialization courses.
The next question, is there an undergraduate GPA requirement, or does admissions solely rely on your master's work? So for for your GPA requirement, we ask for a minimum of a 3.0 for your GPA requirement. And we'll look at both your undergraduate and graduate GPAs. The next one's relating to financial aid. What payment options are available for those who are paying out of pocket?
Okay. Okay, excellent. So that question is actually more on the student account side, but we work closely with them here, so I'm happy to answer that question for you. So students who want to, pay out of pocket and possibly set up a monthly payment plan, there is one offered through Tuition Management Systems. It's the TMS payment plan. I definitely recommend, if that's what if that's something that you're interested in, to go to our website, education.jhu.edu, and under student resources, you will click on student accounts, and then under the student account section, you will see a monthly payment plan schedule. So that will help give you an idea of when your payments would be due.
Thank you. The next one we have is, what types of professions in higher ed are recommended for the education concentration in entrepreneur leadership?
I'm sorry, I'm just reading that question. Is this from Renee again?
This one is from Melody. What type of professions in higher education are recommended for the education concentration entrepreneur leadership?
So our students, believe it or not, come from a variety of career backgrounds. Some are presidents of colleges, some are superintendents. Of course, we have principals of schools, but there are also teachers who are wanting to examine an educational problem by looking at it from an entrepreneurial lens. And so there isn't a specific career that we're looking for in terms of admissions. We're really interested in your problem of practice and your rationale for how your problem of practice fits within that specialization.
The next question we have from Megan is, when will be the next session in which the instructional design concentration will be offered? And correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Bryant, these specializations, they do rotate, especially for the instructional design, so that potentially this could be offered in fall 2021, correct?
Correct, that's correct.
All right.
So David asked, how competitive is the admissions process and what is your typical cohort size? So we generally accept between 70 and 80 students. And Sion, you may know this a little bit better than I, but I believe we typically have between 300 and 400 applications.
Yes, that's correct. All right.
So to complete the program, students need a total of 90 credits. So this is a question by Alexis. How many total credits are needed to complete the program? And is it possible to apply master's credits from your institutions? This is a great question. So you need 90 credits to complete the program. Between 30 and 36 of those credits do come from your master's degree. So you're taking between 48 to 54 credits through our program.
We have another question regards to financial aid. How much of the tuition do the merit-based scholarships cover? How many are available?
So the merit-based scholarships are actually awarded directly by the EdD program. So the financial aid office, because they are not need-based, we are not involved in that process. I would recommend, if you have any additional questions about the EdD merit scholarships, you can reach out to Kathy Chow in the EdD program.
Next question we have from Chris is, how flexible are these specializations? Can we create a custom specialization or focus?
That's a great question. Unfortunately, you cannot create your own specialization. You would have to apply to a specific specialization, and that would be the specialization for your time in the program.
Okay, this is Jennifer again in financial aid. So we have a question that is in regards to tuition. How does it work for international students? So as far as the billing of tuition, that would be in a student accounts question, but I will attempt to answer it for you. My understanding is that all students are billed the same. The really big difference, I think, between students that are U.S. citizens or permanent residents versus international students is that international students are not eligible for federal aid or our endowed scholarships. International students can be eligible for the EdD merit scholarships, but that is the only type of aid that is available. But as far as billing, my understanding is that the billing process is the same, and there is not a different tuition rate for international versus domestic.
And Dr. Brian, looks like we have a little bit more program-related questions from Stephen. How much experience does a faculty have with respect to problems of practice in career and technical education as opposed to more traditional academics in K-12 environments?
So most of our faculty either come from educational backgrounds, but we do have some who have come from outside of academia that have worked in either the non-private sector or the private sector. For example, one of our former faculty members was in the ed tech field before coming to academia. And so I would take a look at the faculty on our website. I would say the large majority do come from, have an educational background. So they, prior to teaching within our program, they may have been classroom teachers, or they may have worked in some type of educational context. But that would be the large majority, but some have had experiences outside of that. But I do want to say that in terms of the problem of practice, so many of our students, as I said earlier, they do come from a wide variety of backgrounds. And so one of the dissertation topics that I discussed earlier on was from a student who works at an ed tech company. And so his advisor and his dissertation committee were able to help him kind of navigate how do you solve an educational problem when you're not in a typical educational context. And so we see that all the time because not all of our students have come from, are in a K through 16 academic setting.
Great. Melissa is asking, you mentioned 2 courses per semester. Is 10 to 15 hours a week enough time to dedicate for that course load?
So I would probably increase that to about 15 to 20. I would think of the coursework in our program as a part-time job that would take 15 to 20 hours.
So from Kelly, I am currently enrolled in a different EdD program and have completed 18 credit units. How many credit units could be waived if I transfer to your program? So Kelly, we accept up to 6 credits if you plan on transferring from a different EdD program. The next question regards to specialization from Patrice. The program includes 3 specialization areas for the 2020 cohort. However, technology integration in K through 12 education is also available for the 2020 cohort. The technology integration specialization is not available, and again, it is on a rotating basis, so it could be available for fall 2021. Lisa asks, I'm self-employed currently. Does this exclude me from the program as I don't have an official supervisor? So this is another really popular question we get, Dr. Bryant.
So no, I wouldn't say that it excludes you. So I think it's just important to specify that. So that person who's writing a letter of recommendation, so maybe they're someone who knows the work that you're doing, can account for your ability to conduct research and be successful in this program. It's important for that person to be able to speak to those things if you don't have a supervisor.
The next question is it mandatory to take the TOEFL or IELTS if English is your first language? Applicants whose native language is not English or who are not citizens of countries where English is the official language are required to submit official TOEFL or IELTS scores.
So Heidi asked a question, just a practical question for those of us on the West Coast. What is the typical time for the live courses during the week? So our program is 95% asynchronous. So the work that you're doing in your courses happens asynchronously. However, there are times when faculty or even at the program level, we hold synchronous sessions. And because we have students from around the globe, we're very mindful about the times that we offer those live synchronous sessions. And so we aim to offer multiple synchronous sessions. So for example, if I, as an instructor, want to hold a sync session so that students can ask questions about the next assignment, which I'm doing in the next couple of days, I'll do one in the morning and one in the evening to make sure I'm catching students who live in different time zones. All of our synchronous sessions are also recorded. So if students aren't able to attend, they can go back and listen and either set up a time to talk with the instructor if they have additional questions, or send an email. But all of the live sessions are recorded so everyone has access.
The next question, if the applicant has completed a 2-year certificate program, Mind, Brain, and Teaching at Hopkins, how many of those credits can be counted towards the EdD program?
So we still only accept up to 6 credits. And so for students who have completed that certificate in Mind, Brain, Teaching, I would strongly encourage you to talk with Ranjini Johnbull or Marielle, because they have seen, provided kind of different coursework for students. And so they can speak to that more specifically than I can, in helping you to figure out what courses you would need to take, since you've probably already taken many of the courses within that specialization.
Next question, what's the average award amount for endowed scholarships?
Sure. So, excuse me. So we do offer a limited number of endowed scholarships, and they range anywhere from $500 to $1,500 per year. And they are awarded annually, so students do need to reapply each year.
Lauren asked, are there options to obtain an educational administrator license through the coursework, or would that have to be done separately? So our EdD program does not offer any type of licenses, and so that would have to be done through another program outside of the EdD.
The next question we have is that you stated that you need to provide transcripts for all post-secondary education. Are non-credit pass-fail training programs offered by the universities included? So any type of credit that you receive from an institution, even though you did not receive a degree, we do require official transcripts. And the very last question it looks like that we have is, I finished my master's in education several years ago and haven't maintained contact with any of those professors. Are there alternate persons that can write a letter of reference? So this question was asked in the beginning. So again, we are able to accept your letter of recommendation from a professional recommendation from perhaps your supervisor, but please keep in mind that out of the 3, one of your letters of recommendation must again talk about and support your problem of practice. All right, wonderful. At this time, it looks like we don't have any other questions. Like I mentioned during the virtual webinar, if you have any questions relating to program, please reach out to Kathy Chow. And then also any financial aid questions, reach out to Jennifer Coveney, and anything relating to admissions. And I'll make sure to write down the email addresses for each department in the chat box. But thank you so much for your time and your interest in the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Have a wonderful night. And thank you, Dr. Bryant.
Thank you.